Welcome to Stream 2, the NRM in Focus part of the program. I'm going to introduce our first speaker this morning. It's Simon Wiggins. Simon is the Operation Manager at DCQ and has been with the organisation for about a decade in a few different forms. Simon's best in the prickly acacia eradication program, and he's going to elaborate further on the work he's done there. So please make Simon feel very welcome. To join you with his presentation. They're just getting his slides ready. They've had a little bit of a hiccup there. I just wanted to remind you about those lightning presentations. Morning tea would have been a perfect time to go to the resource library to see those. You will have another chance during breaks later today to get in there, have a look. Duck in there early so that you have the opportunity to then contact the people who are responsible for those lightning presentations. If you'd like to discuss with them further. Okay, Simon is ready now. I'd like to welcome Simon Wiggins from DCQ, Operations Manager, to the main box.
Thank you very much, everyone, for the opportunity to talk to you all, and I hope you're all enjoying the conference so far. And as part of the Desert Channels Queensland Group, co-host of the conference, welcome. Today, as Operations Manager for DCQ, I'll be talking through the program of works commonly called our Prickle program, the lessons that we've learned and that may have application to your programs of work, and opportunities where we'd like to extend an invitation for further collaboration to better refine on-ground outcomes. But despite that introduction, these actually aren't my achievements. They are the collective results of a consistent leadership from our board and CEO, a truly monumental dedication from our field team and project officers, commitment by landholders all throughout the region. We've been very fortunate to have industry partners, government partners, and people from universities both in Australia and overseas who've all contributed skills, knowledge, and collective wisdom, often gained over many, many years tackling this weed and in fact laying the foundation. For those of you who don't know, who are not here in person, I'll quickly introduce our team. We're a small team, but we have the great fortune to live and work in the Queensland part of the Lake Eyre Basin, covering 30% of Queensland, 3 climate zones, 3 major drainage basins, 3 major bioregions. The region is home to only 14,000 people. 10% of our staff were born overseas, 20% are Indigenous, 50% were born and raised in the catchment, 70% of our staff have lived more than 10 years in the region. All are very deeply committed to the region and its people, and the staff are equally split between project officers and a field team, which is quite unusual for a natural resource management group. Within our region, 70% of the land is leasehold, and as expected, property sizes are large, and therefore impacts on the landscape that land managers make, both good and bad, can have large geographical areas. This program of work, our Prickle program, is centred mainly on the Mitchell Grass bioregion, which is in the north of our region. The major threats within the Mitchell Grass bioregion are, as you would expect, excessive sustained grazing pressure, the encroachment of woody weeds, and a highly variable climate. Where these 3 occur together, ecosystem functionality declines quickly and is very, very slow to recover. Where these 3 occur together also, landholders may fail, their businesses may fail, they may leave the industry, but the consequence to rangeland flora and fauna is significant, may be catastrophic, and certainly will be long-lasting. The DCQ program of work begun in 2013 increased in urgency as more monitoring information began to be available that was pointing to rangeland condition decline. Focused on the removal of woody weeds, the rangeland recovery has matured and evolved over time with new data and as innovations have occurred. The program of work has sought to address woody weed expansion into the rangelands and the concurrent recovery of the area, with the primary focus on improving ecosystem functionality and obtaining a balance between production and conservation outcomes. It's not about locking areas up, but it's also not about maximising production, but about improved stewardship of the rangelands. To be effective and given the scale of the issues, the northern third of the Lake Eyre Basin region of DCQ was the project scope, and the investment model centred on co-investment by landholders to supplement government funding, with funding from the DCQ Foundation supporting long-term monitoring. Foundations, as you would expect, mapping and prioritisation, regulatory tools to support efficient control, innovative solutions, and monitoring and evaluation. It's unlikely that there'd be any surprises in that list, but the scale has pushed our capacity and technology to the limit. We've had to map 23 million hectares and to do this efficiently, we have supplemented ground surveys with aerial surveys. Aerial surveys using UAVs, and use machine learning to identify and classify weeds by density from imagery obtained. We've been very fortunate to have had strong support from both the Queensland and Australian government in the development of both area management plans under the Vegetation Management Act and chemical permits through the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority. Since its inception, this program has introduced many innovations, some directly through DCQ in response to issues encountered in the field through our field team.
And as would be expected, monitoring and evaluation has been a hallmark of this project, with monitoring on some properties now stretching back 9 years.
Funded by the DCQ Foundation and the support of people just like yourselves. The project is starting to achieve quite significant areas of woody weed control. And there's a lot of debate that occurs over numbers in this space, but what is clear is that the trend is now downwards. We were seeing expansion of this weed between 1996 and somewhere around about 2015-16, but what is clear is that the area and distribution of this weed is now significantly declining, and that rate of decline is accelerating. In the bottom left-hand, right-hand corner of this image, you'll see a map of our broken up into 16 management zones, and the arrows indicate our original intent. The arrows on the map, while it's been around for many years, still remain for the program. Control activities are now occurring in all management zones across the region, all 16, and 3 are showing increases in area distribution. The remaining are showing declines. The 3 management zones, 14, 15 and 16, which occur in the southern area of our region, extended in distribution primarily due to the 2019 monsoonal event. Other management zones, particularly zones 2, 3 and 4, in fact were expected to increase, but did not, suggesting that the long-term strategy of targeting high seed producing areas, particularly those along watercourses, remains correct, especially where complemented by landholders treating adjoining paddocks with light density. With control works now accelerating in speed, in the period 2015 to 2020, 2 million hectares of weeds were treated. While a large number and an exciting number, it remains only 8% of the estimated distribution of this weed, but significantly 50% of the high density priority areas. When the project commenced, the ratio of area of weed treated between DCQ and landholders was approximately 1 to 0.01. In 2015, this had increased to 1 to 1. In 2020, it reached an estimated 1 to 3, and our target remains 1 to 5. Landholder involvement in the project is rapidly increasing as trust is further established that investment in control is a sound business investment. Image starts to show you the area of involvement by landholders, but also the distribution of where our work is primarily occurring. In 2020, the project reached a milestone of 348 properties within the region being recorded as actively undertaking woody weed control. This represented 40% of the region's landholders. Significantly, they're in our high priority areas. And then they're in the areas where we were initially finding that there was extensive increase in distribution of this weed. Control efforts will vary between landholders, and that's actually what the colours indicate. They indicate whether people are doing localised control or whether they've gone all the way through to control of all mature plants. But as the program has been cemented into place, focus has turned to recovery of the treated areas and efficiently measuring the outcomes. And these start to represent our learnings to date. Clearly, a supportive regulatory framework, which was developed as part of this program of work, is the very foundation from which all other outcomes are based and has been the key to landholder re-engagement in woody weed control. It provides the efficiency gains. It opens the door to the partnerships and application of technology, the introduction of innovative ideas, and these have been the significant cost savings which have re-engaged many of our landholders. When this project commenced, hand spraying of weeds was a dominant control technique, and using this technique, spraying a prickly acacia tree costs around about $2.20. Treating a prickly acacia with tebutyron-based chemicals costs around 18 cents.
Where each
Application technique only works within its most efficient density range, and each chemical is used within its assigned polygon. This can translate to large areas treated quickly and efficiently, but also it minimises environmental risk. But this requires a very skilled field team to adapt it at a range of control techniques. A drone, for example, can treat a hectare of dense prickly acacia of over 1,000 stems per hectare in 8 minutes, replacing control by hand, which would have taken a day. A mister can treat 400 metres of watercourse in 30 minutes. When operated by DCQ staff, the costs to operate the equipment are dramatically reduced compared to contractors, and learnings and skills are retained in-house. The significant use of tebutyron-based chemicals has increased control rates from 70% to 99%, with multiple years of control of emerging seedlings now an outcome of use of that chemical. Complementing this, however, and the need and to meet permit conditions, chemical efficacy and pasture recovery monitoring networks are in place to ensure conditions for rehabilitation are established and are underway. The complexity of the control areas vary, but in all cases, the requirement of the control is the complexity of the control areas vary, but in all cases, the control of prickly acacia and the preservation of mature native vegetation and establishment of the conditions for rehabilitation. DCQ has had to develop many unique solutions and integrate these into our field team to achieve the necessary efficiencies. The field team routinely operates 5 control techniques on a property, sometimes more. The skill sets within this team are therefore necessarily high, but many of the initial concepts for these innovations come from partnerships with industry, universities, and research organisations, with a number of organisations looking to the control program to fast-track emerging concepts, from swarm technology to new chemicals, to condition assessment and remote identification of species. And as you would expect, data is the key to everything. Data, however, is extremely costly to obtain. It does, however, allow for the prioritisation and better cost estimate of the control works on a property. And within DCQ, this is a critical component. Primarily, field data collection is our source of obtaining that information, but it's supplemented with drone surveys and now machine learning from the drone surveys to determine map densities, to determine weed densities and map them. And this is critical as control is based on density. It's been a significant area of investment for DCQ, and we've prioritized this, firstly for project outcomes, but also because it's actually our staff undertaking the groundwork. We are now a data-rich organisation, and sometimes so much so that we don't have the capacity to analyse all the data collected in a timely manner. And so we're happy to partner with people seeking to better understand the trends in the rangelands and share outcomes. We have over 30,000 field data collection sites, 160 biocondition sites, 150 camera trap sites, 10 rainfall gauges, orthomosaics covering extraordinarily large areas, often collected monthly over multiple years. For those attending in person, I would encourage you to talk to our staff about areas of likely common interest. And for those of you online, I'd encourage you to have a look at the virtual trade display. But it's all about the people. It always will be, and it always has been. However, skills and knowledge development activities being undertaken concurrently as part of this project, while they show significant improvement in foundational skills development, and this level of skills development remains in high demand, it rarely translates to advanced skill development. And this is a significant project risk. Landholders sometimes only want to focus on killing the weeds, but not change the management practices that led to weed establishment. The risk here is that while we will get production outcomes, which are in fact ground cover improvements, we will not necessarily get ecosystem functionality outcomes. This is an area of focus for the organisation, and we welcome ideas and suggestions. The reality is that without management change, on-ground outcomes with longevity are hard to come by, and this risk translates not only to business fragility, but an enduring risk to ecosystem functionality. And there's a saying that time heals all. And time is definitely the critical issue. Stewardship and time are the two things that we need in this program. And they're the keys to success, but it will come at a cost to production. In these two pictures, the move from land condition D to B took 7 years of careful management and light grazing. And we are only now seeing the widespread floristic diversity, which underpins the faunistic diversity which we're seeking. Short-term project funding therefore remains a significant risk, especially in the early formative years of a program of work such as this. Extension and legacy products tailored to the audience rather than the funders are a key to minimising risk. However, without landholder trust in the outcomes and a complementary value set associated with those outcomes, it is unlikely that significant management change will occur in short-term projects. This is an enduring risk for all projects, but especially so where you're seeking landscape change as the desired outcome. And these programs are necessarily agile in delivery and refined through monitoring and evaluation. And often the true test occurs well after the project is finished. These images come from a property to the north of Barcaldine, and it's a project that we inherited in 2018. In the top right, you can see the distribution of the prickly acacia that we inherited in 2018. The centre picture is the foliar reflectance from Landsat imagery that provides the change in distribution of the prickly acacia over the Landsat time series. The blue indicates areas where the prickly acacia had rapidly changed in density. And the diagram at the bottom is the foliar reflectance from site 1. And what it indicated was that there was an established forest. There was an established level of prickly acacia between 1990 and 2000. And in 2003, 2004, significant work was undertaken at that site. It was good work. It was solid work. It achieved the results that was being desired. You can clearly see that the foliar reflectance dropped to 0. However, what occurred is that the prickly acacia came back. So that by the time that we arrived there in 2018 to take over the site, essentially everything had returned to its previous levels. This is a lesson, and it's got to be a lesson that we learn, and we must keep looking back at our projects. While impacting on production values at the property, the data goes even further and suggests that impacts on biodiversity were enduring and sustained. With a short break, essentially, there were 25 years where there was a significant impacts on biodiversity. It is therefore unsurprising that biodiversity at this site is minimal. But the data provides further insights. The site was used as part of a document to develop best management practice for the control of this weed. Not only does this site provide a good indication of why landholders are necessarily cautious about investment in changed land management, but it also highlights the need for monitoring post-project, where lessons are often learnt most clearly. Best management practice is a term I struggle with, as management practices are continually evolving in light of new information or emerging techniques, and they should be agile in application, and appropriate techniques need to mirror this. This is just common sense. Best management practice implies a static decision-making process, and a key learning from this program of work has been the need to foster project officers adept in agile decision-making based on evaluating emerging data trends. But this is not a story of woe. In areas where rainfall has been better, the rangeland grasslands are beginning to recover, and given the hope for coming rain this season and the ethos intrinsic in most landholders, the recovery of the grasslands is primed. But there does remain a cautionary tale. While we focus on maximising production, we run the risk of neglecting biodiversity, in particular the fauna that makes the rangelands so special. Even the limited fauna monitoring undertaken in the last 10 years has shown a dramatic impact on ecosystem functionality in the region, and that recovery will be a long-term labour of love and will require new partnerships, new products and new services, and some have been discussed already here at the conference. We have an opportunity to build a new program of work, and contributions are not only welcome, they're sought. So within our region, and certainly the focus of this program, landholders are demonstrating that conservation and production outcomes can be balanced, and the land can be left in better condition than we found it. I would invite you to join the virtual tour later today and meet some of the landholders already on this journey.
Thank you very much, Simon. It's been a fantastic program, one that I can definitely attest to, at least locally, has been very warmly received, and the results have been fantastic.